my 25th anniversary of gainful employment here at CMP. Wasn't expecting that part, but I was expecting maybe feel sorry for you or something. Anyway, gainful, very gainful employment here at CMP. And you know, a quarter of a century is kind of a different way to look at it. And I've been thinking to myself, in some ways it seems like quite a long time. A number of things have changed. There's been a lot of growth and change at CMP over the years. And in other ways it seems like just yesterday. But I know that a lot of people who work here now have only started within the last 5 or 10 years. And you only know CMP as being a very highly organized shop with well-defined rules and roles and procedures. Did I say highly organized? Okay. And I thought to myself, you know, most people probably wouldn't believe if I told you some of the stories of the things that happened in the earlier days. And so I want to recount some of those today. For instance, if I told you the story about how Dan Weinhardt almost got his face blown off one day working on a 600-volt electrical panel. And you'd say to me, well, Phil, Dan's not an electrician. We have trained electricians out here. They're the only ones supposed to be working on electrical panels. They're trained, they know what they're doing, they know how to stay safe. How could that be? Well, it wasn't always that way. Or the time when Dan dropped, he was lifting on a crane a 20-foot long piece of 4x4 heavy wall steel. And he dropped it on the back end of his beloved Volkswagen Rabbit, rendering it to the junkyard. And you say, well, Phil, there's only like 5 guys in the shop that have their crane license. Why would Dan be using a crane? So, well, it wasn't always that way. Or if I told you the story of how Henry was one time driving along in the forklift with the forks up, and he ran into the overhead door. You say, Phil,
that's true.
Henry doesn't have his forklift license. We get trained to use the forklift, and only certain people are allowed, and they learn how to stay safe, they learn the right procedure. Well, it wasn't always that way. Or if I told you how it was quite common for when someone was in the washroom for a firecracker to come underneath the stall. Or we would put firecrackers in the bottom of the belt sander so it would be lit by the sparks coming off the steel. You'd say, Phil, we have a health and safety committee, man. You can get in huge trouble for that. You can get fired, written up. It wasn't always that way. Or for those of you who, perhaps like me, suffer from GBD, you may be surprised to know that the shop was not always gray. When we were down at the Harmony Road location, it was actually this nice blue color and right up to about 6 feet high. And above that it was white. It was nice and bright, it was open, it was airy. But gradually, over time, the shop was infiltrated by former ATS employees, little by little. And we were eventually completely overtaken. And the shop became gray. And I'm not going to mention any names, but it had a large part to do with one former foreman with the initials BK. So we're just Or for those of you who are frustrated on a daily basis navigating through 17 screens 4 or 5 times to punch in and out of jobs, you may be chagrined to know that at one point we didn't even have a time clock. We just kind of came in and left and wrote down our job on a piece of paper. So a lot has changed at CMP from the humble beginnings when it started in 1988 with 2,000 or 3,000 square feet down in a small machine shop in Cambridge, Ontario. And a big part of it was a machine shop, but a big part of the work was we had some dies and a press, and we were making these little shelf organizer things, right? And then in 1991, a connection was made with some former vendor builders from the Bundy plant in Cambridge, which had closed down. And CMP started to build vendors. Remember that, Craig? Little inside joke there. And after a few years of building vendors, it was time to grow, and Dan and Henry bought the property on 402 Harmony Road. And the building, and we still own, CMP still owns that building, but the building on 402 Harmony Road was originally a truck driver training school which had gone bankrupt. And the building had 3 finished units, and the footings and the foundations were in place for about 5 more units if for the future. And Dan and Henry, being the astute businessmen that they are, said to themselves, there's an opportunity here. So they bought the building, and we moved into the 3 units in 1994. And after a few years, it was time to grow again. And the decision was made to build the remaining units on the existing foundations. And a funny thing happened when that addition was being built. For some reason, instead of kind of laying the cinder block bricks, kind of going around layer by layer, row by row, kind of building up, the guys that were building it decided to build one wall 20 feet high, 120 feet long. And, well, you kind of know where I'm going with this, right? So we saw this, and one particular day, it was very windy, and we were working away in the shop, and we hear this thud, and the ground shook, and it was literally like a mini earthquake. We all looked at each other and said, that's not what I think it is. Sure enough, went outside, this whole 20-foot by 120-foot wall had fallen down on the ground. So they ended up rebuilding it, and we moved into another 3 units on 402 Harmony Road, and right around that time, Rob Schwery came on board to help further develop the vision to form an engineering department and an automation, turn it not just from building vendors, but also an automation shop. And this move was followed by phenomenal growth in vendor building, automation, engineering, and also our panel building department. With continued growth, the decision was made to move up to the Boyda Avenue location where we are right now. And then in 2014, an addition, with more continued growth, an addition was added to that location. And to the point where now CMP is a very successful world-class automation shop. And one of the goals has always been to diversify from being solely automotive, which we were largely when we were only building vendors, into other areas of work, which we've successfully done. And so we're doing, I think in the meeting the other day, we were talking about a lot of different kinds of work, but we're getting into some new high-speed drone takeoff and landing pads. It's pretty exciting stuff. And it's also been rumored that Rob Schwery has been personally on the phone with Sir Richard Branson, talking about some top secret space projects. So we gotta stay tuned for more of that. But it's been 25 years for me, and I am certainly thankful for the opportunity that I've had for steady employment over the last 25 years, and the provision and prosperity that's brought to my family. And one thing is for sure, I won't still be working at CMP in 25 years, but I hope and I would imagine that CMP will still be in existence, and it will still be a very prosperous, forward-moving shop. So you may remember that last year I took it upon myself to start a new tradition and honor somebody in the shop with the Employee of the Year award. Last year it was a very special lady with purple hair, Carly, and well-deserved. And this year's recipient is not actually an employee of CMP, but he comes in every day. He's a very hard worker. He might even work harder than me, I'm not sure. And he's smart, he's willing to work, and I'm sure he has a bright, prosperous future, and that is Jacob Weiss. So, Jacob, if you want. So, to finish, it is my joy and pleasure to wish Dan, Henry, Maria, and Rob and your families a very Merry Christmas, and to present you with a gift from all of us. And you'll notice that these are all gray. Purposely chosen gray bags.
Hey, very cool.
Thank you, everybody.
Very nice.
Very nice.
And there's one more
Matches our
special
house
one.
decor.
I'll give you the honor of opening it.
Oh, that's nice.
That is really nice. Wow.
Everybody see that? That should look pretty good in the lobby, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Don't take it
Dan's
out.
door.
Don't use it as a cutting board this week.
That was nice.
Don't use it. It's not a cutting board. That's right.
Oh, thank you, everybody. Thank you. Very nice.